My name's Aaron Kyro. I'm a sponsored skateboarder from the San Francisco Bay Area. And today we are here with an Ask Me Anything. We got Tom, who is the Braille Drop podcast producer. Introduce yourself, Tom.
Yeah, my name's Tom Kelly. I'm kind of just a guy that reached out to Aaron one day and said, why is there not a podcast? And
2 years later, we are doing a recording.
I'm here for the AMA. I don't think I'll be behind the microphone too much, but I had a bunch of questions for Aaron. I've been watching Braille videos for so long, and just highlight of my day whenever Aaron's on screen. I feel like I've had so many questions. I'm kind of just dying to get to know weird little details about his life. So hopefully you all will enjoy the questions I've come up with.
Yeah, and we're going to roll right into this, and we would love any kind of feedback that anybody has in any kind of way that you can give us feedback of what kind of guests would you like to have on. I'm going to do some interviews. I'll also do some things that are just me talking. We're kind of just starting this and throwing things at the wall to see what sticks.
For sure. Yeah, down to hear any ideas. But I've got a list of questions, and I think probably the most important thing to start with is why start a podcast at all? Like, what is the point of the thing? How does this help push skateboarding to every stretch of the universe? How is this podcast going to help?
Good question. So I have a lot of ideas for a podcast of what it could be and what, where this could go. But we have all these things that we do now. We obviously do goofy, weird videos on YouTube. And then we have the Braille Army channel, which can be kind of like more serious. Oh, we're trying this trick, or so-and-so is learning this trick. And then we do have guests that come all the time. And sometimes we have these really, really amazing guests. And we originally started the idea of the Braille Drop podcast. We would just interview the guests that came. And it was so like, we would just sit down. I would have no questions, and I would literally just start talking to them. And then an hour and a half later, we would go through that. But I think it's an opportunity to also like reach out into the world and get some people who, there's all these inspirational stories that I see. I see them in the comments. I see these little things of people saying, I started skateboarding and then I sprained my ankle, and then I went to the doctor, and because I sprained my ankle, they found this cancer, and then it literally saved my life. And then there's the whole thing about how skateboarding saved their life. But I think there's a lot of really cool stories to tell out there of just interesting individuals, as well as people that are doing really well in whatever industry they're in, skateboarding related, or sometimes even not. But I think skateboarding has a lot of parallels to life, and then we can really like dig into that, which I think is much better done in a podcast setting than it is done on like let's try and jam this into like an 8-minute YouTube video and just throw that out there. So who knows where this will go? I hope you guys enjoy it though. And we'd love to hear your feedback.
Yeah, I see a lot in the comments that people just like, they want to hear more from you. I'm hoping this will be like a really good place to get stuff that there just isn't time for on the YouTube videos. So that's what I'm hoping to get out of it. And I'm hoping to hear some of those stories from you too. I'm just, I'm just excited about it, if you can't tell.
Yeah, I love it. And maybe, we'll get into some things that we don't talk about on YouTube, because maybe they're not, we do very specific family-friendly type content, and sometimes people have questions and it goes outside of that, or maybe it goes outside of something that's just not totally something that's about what we're doing. And you never know what we're going to dig into on the podcast.
Awesome. I find it really interesting when people just have like a passion for teaching, and obviously you get something out of it, but I have to think it does take away from just time that you get to just skate. So like, why, and it might just be because that's the way I am, but like, why are you so interested in teaching others how to skate? Why not just take that time for yourself and just shred?
Yeah, good question. So I am 39 years old and I started skateboarding when I was 10. So I'm about to hit, well, 10 is the age I say because it's easier on the math. It's really kind of 9. I've really been skateboarding for over 30 years.
Wow.
And so I have had plenty of time and I filmed tons of video parts. I've had lots of time just for myself of like going out and crushing my legs and my muscles and just putting in the work and doing everything I possibly can. And then there was sort of this like change that I underwent when, man, one day I went in and my sponsor completely kicked me off. And then I was sort of feeling like my skateboard career is over and I'm not going to do anything with it anymore. And then I found YouTube and then I made a tutorial video and that did really well. And then I just went, I had this sort of light bulb aha moment that I went, oh my God, I just found my place in skateboarding. I can still skateboard, but I can also teach people. And I actually think because I can explain things very detailed and sometimes I'm very, very long-winded, which will probably make for a terrible podcast or maybe a great podcast. I don't know. But yeah, because I can just explain in such thorough detail, I had this idea that I can teach better than some of the tutorials that I saw on YouTube at the time, which were exceptionally bad. Now I feel like there's a lot of good stuff coming out, and I feel like we actually spearheaded that change. And I think that change is really good. But I had this realization of like, I landed my first kickflip, and now watching some kid land his first kickflip gives me the same feeling on a different level.
Yeah.
So that's super cool. I actually wish I could just, because we get so insanely busy with the videos, but recently I've been like, I wish I could just take a camera, go to a skate park, and just be like, what trick are you working on? Great. I'm teaching you that right now.
Yeah.
And then maybe that is what I'm going to do for a little bit. Those have been doing really well on TikTok, et cetera. It's just like, how do you just... It's also just like the selfless, like, I'm just going to teach somebody for whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter. We don't even have to film it.
Right. Yeah, it's I don't have like insane skills like that, but I teach some people audio, and like when something clicks, it's like, oh man, I remember when I understood that for the first time. And
yes,
I don't know. It's not like a self-serving thing because I like doing it for selfless reasons, but there's a lot to get out of it too, and helping people.
Exactly. It's a win-win on all levels.
Absolutely. And yeah, skateboarding is not something. I mean, we saw the video with Purple. You can do it for a long time, but I'm just in my early 30s and it's wearing on me, man. It's wearing.
That's another thing. I almost want to go like make a series like, what is it like to film a professional video part at 39 years old? And I mentioned this in a video. I was like, I'm probably not going to ever film as good of a part as I could back then.
Yeah.
But I want to challenge myself to do that and to go through like, okay, that means stretching and protein shakes and working out and yoga, and you hurt every day. You hurt.
Yeah. I didn't start like really trying to learn how to skate until late 20s. So like, it's not like I've been doing it forever, but just today I went out to the skate park, my local park here in Asheville, North Carolina. And I know I didn't eat well yesterday, and I could just feel it. Like I couldn't ollie as high. Like it's like, man, getting old sucks. We'll talk about getting older later on, but I actually want to take it back, I guess, to the beginning. You've been skating since 10, or rather 9 or whatever. Because I know starting out, it was just like, I just want to get that kickflip. If I can just get that kickflip, like I'd be happy. Like, did you have like a dream trick when you before you could even ollie? Was there something that was like, if I can just do that, I'd be golden?
Yeah, honestly, for me, I was in such a small town, and this was pre-internet. It's kind of hard for kids these days to understand. Oh, YouTube didn't exist? Like, you didn't just get on your iPhone and look up every thing imaginable from all over the world?
Right.
No, it didn't. Okay. So my dream trick was an ollie, and I was trying to do it over a hose that was this tall. And this kid came to town who was older, and he was from somewhere else. I don't even remember where he was from or his name. And he could ollie over the hose, and it blew my mind. And I was like, I can't believe, like, because it's like a magical thing. The board sticks to your feet and it goes up. And I just thought that is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do the ollie. It took me like 6 months of brutally trying to figure out what is going on with this skateboard.
Yeah, I skated for a little bit when I was about 10, and like you had to order a VHS online to like try to see how to ollie, and if the teacher wasn't great, like you couldn't just go check something else out quickly. It was so hard to learn back then. You just needed to have a friend that could do it. If you're in a small town, whatever, that might be super hard.
Right. And that friend needed to tell you
right
what
right
to do. You might have just seen him. And in my, my brother, so I have a brother, let's start there. He's 3 years older than me. And when I started skating, he started skating too. And then then like a couple years later, maybe not even, maybe 1 year later, some kids in his like older category, they're 3 years older than me, right? But when you're a kid, 3 years is huge.
That's half a lifetime.
Yeah. And they were just so brutally mean. They did not want me to do anything. Like one time, this kid who's a skater, he grabbed my arm and he was like, if you don't like do what I'm telling you to do, I'm going to break your arm. And then I was like, let me go. Like, we didn't get into a fight. There was no physical altercation. I basically just like got out of there and left. But that was kind of like, there was no skaters, and then there was skaters, and all the skaters were really kind of like intense.
Yeah.
And then later on, I'm like, got sponsored and doing my whole skateboard thing, and they apologized.
And then you broke all their arms.
And then, yeah, I saw them at a friend's house, and he said, I hope you don't know who I am. And I was like, oh, no, I don't know who you are. And then he told me his name, and then I was like, oh, I do know who you are. And then he was like, please don't beat me up. And I was like, beat you up. I'm like the furthest person from like beating somebody up there ever could be. And then he apologized for that. And then I was like, oh, that's respect.
Yeah.
You know,
man, skateboarding brings people together. Love it. Love to hear it. Do you have a dream trick now, or like a line that you're working on that would just push you to the next level?
Yeah. I have a list of tricks. It's kind of painful to even talk about, that I've been listing out for years. I actually don't even know if it's in this phone somewhere. There's a list. And I basically think I'm going to film a video part, and I list out the tricks. I could name like 20, but the one like recently I've been trying to do this trick is a fakie big spin double kickflip manual. I've never seen anybody do that. And then I have this perfect spot. It's actually the perfect spot for it, minus a couple, street spots is always, it's hard to roll up. It's you got to kind of turn into it. And when you're turning into like a fakie big spin double flip and then landing into a manual. So I've been to this spot 3 times to try and film this trick. Most recently was 2 days ago, or was last week. And I'm there trying it for about 4 hours straight.
Oh, God.
And I landed one, and the filmer was changing the battery.
No.
Yeah.
Doesn't count.
It literally doesn't count, because you're filming it for a video part. So we got the trick on an iPhone that was set onto a tripod.
Sure.
And I was like, it was questionable if I did the fakie big spin manny double flip, landed in manual, and then was rolling and then readjusted, and maybe one wheel slightly touched. It's like one of those Manny Buster things. I told the filmer, don't worry about it. It's totally fine. I think I should do it again because maybe my wheel touched. And then the more I looked at that footage, I thought I would 100% use that in my video part. But the filmer just feels so bad.
Sure.
You know what I mean? He knows that I've been there 3 times. He's been there with me every time. It's to the point where it's just like, another thing that I love about skateboarding that I have to just throw in there as a random aside, I, for some reason, love when I go to try a trick and the next day I can barely walk.
Yeah. It's a good kind of pain.
So gratifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you just went like, I went to war yesterday. I went to battle, and I may or may not. Sometimes you win and sometimes you don't.
Do you listen to music when you are going for this stuff?
When I skate or just in general?
Or like if you're like really trying to nail a trick, are you listening to anything?
No.
Okay.
Now, I'll tell you why. The focus has to be so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I can't have anything in my pockets. Like Mowgli, he will skate with his car keys.
No way.
And his phone in his pocket, and then he'll like take it out, and I'll be like, if you try that trick again with the freaking car keys. But I can't have anything in my pockets.
Yeah.
Everything has to be, I even have to like, the color combo of my t-shirt needs to be correct.
Oh my gosh.
It goes far. Okay. So I can't throw in headphones because I'm going to be trying to do something that's very difficult, and I will start to think the headphones are falling out, whatever. But beforehand, I will have to religiously watch a video part. PJ Ladd's Wonderful Horrible Life is my go-to. I've literally seen it more times. Like, I think it has 1 million views on Thrasher, and I think I'm 950,000 of those views. I absolutely love it. And so, or I will listen to Iron Maiden.
Okay, yeah.
Which I just think is so funny because Iron Maiden is like the kind of thing that you would be skating, not manuals. You would be like jumping down a 10 stair or like smashing your face through a vert ramp. When I skate vert, I cannot listen to anything other than Iron Maiden.
Oh my gosh.
In my head, the entire time is Iron Maiden. And then I started going, this is good for me. and then I started taking that to the streets too. So, you know, yeah, by Iron Maiden. So I'll have a song in my head, but can't do earphones.
I feel that. You see it like watching X Games or like anything like that. Everyone's got the AirPods in. They're falling out all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything gnarly, so like I'll push around with mine in, and I can't have anything in my pockets either. So I run my Apple Watch running music to my AirPods, which is like the nicest life hack. If anyone out there is like deeply invested in the Apple scene, you can get stuff out of your pockets that way. So that's been good for me, but
that's fascinating. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
And also on like the guys on the Street League, I think that's a different scenario. Because here I'm trying to get rid of the AirPods or the possibility of them falling out so I can focus.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're trying to put the music in so they can focus.
Sure, yeah.
You know, because you got people yelling. Oh, man, I can only imagine.
Yeah, you know, I didn't think, but you have to drown out all the other uncontrollable noise with some controlled noise. I never considered that. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I hear you like screaming Zeppelin sometimes when you're dropping in on the huge half pipe there. I didn't know if like it makes sense that you got the song in your head because I hear it coming out a lot. I've never really noticed you singing Maiden, but I've heard the Immigrant song before.
Yes. Yeah. And there's this thing that's like you're trying something. It's such a mind meld. Like I was just filming today. We filmed 7 videos today. And the very last one was me trying this trick. It's one of those tricks that I know I can do, and I'm close to doing it. And then I try to land on it and I just fall. and then I'm thinking the whole time of worst case scenario. And it's the type of trick where if you don't get in correctly and you slip out, you're dead.
Yeah.
You're actually gonna fall bad.
Uh-huh.
And so you have to push through this mental barrier, and it helps me so much to scream. It just does.
Yeah.
Sometimes when the other guys are skating, I'm like, just scream as loud as you can and then do the trick. Because it's, I don't know, something about it. It's like that battle cry.
Oh, for sure. It's cathartic. It's getting you pumped up. I mean, yeah, battle cries. That's perfect. There's many times I wish I could scream at the skate park, but I know I'm already like making myself look like an idiot out there. I don't need to be like causing a scene,
Oh yeah, I'm full idiot mode. There was like all these kids that are like in the other room skating the vert ramp, and I'm like the grown man trying to do this trick, 39 years old, and I'm over in the bigger side of the street section at Braille House just screaming, ah! And then I look over and these kids are looking out like, is he okay? Yeah. The truth is, kids, no, he's not okay.
They'll learn. They'll get there at some point.
Yeah. What's going on, everybody? I want to take a second to tell you about Audible, the #1 platform for audiobooks, podcasts, and more. With Audible, you have access to over 400,000 titles, including one of my favorites, Shoe Dog, the story of the Nike owner, Phil Knight. As a small business owner and skater, it was so interesting to see what he went through in building the Nike empire and how it all started. This is an inspiring and motivating story, and I would recommend it to anyone. The way Audible works is amazing. With Audible Plus, you get instant access to thousands of audiobooks, sleep guides, and podcasts for just $7.95. Yours to enjoy as a subscriber, or you can upgrade to Audible Premium Plus and get everything included in Audible Plus, plus one additional audiobook every month, yours to stream, download, and keep forever. Even if you cancel your subscription, which is easy to do, but trust me, you won't want to. There are many amazing books on Audible, and as a listening viewer of the Braille Drop, you can download a free audiobook today that's yours forever, whether you subscribe or not. Just go to thebrailledrop.com/audible to sign up for a free 30-day trial and receive one free audiobook that's yours to keep. Doing so really helps support the show. That's thebrailledrop.com/audible to get a completely free audiobook on Audible. Thanks, and now back to the show.
We talked a little bit of, the other day about Tony Hawk and like the effect that it had on skateboarding and bringing it to more like mainstream, brought a bunch of new skaters in, which I think at the time wasn't super welcomed by some people, but it's undoubtedly been great for skateboarding in general. It's an Olympic sport now. I mean, it's come a long way.
Yes.
Did you play the game? And if so, who was your go-to skater?
I played the game so much. Yeah. When the first one came out, I just played it until it, couldn't exist anymore. Yeah. And then when the second one came out, I was so excited because you could manual.
Yes.
It was the change. It was the change of everybody needed that.
Yeah.
And then you could do Mick twist, land, revert, and then into a manual. And you could do endless combinations. And my go-to skater was Jeff Rowley.
Okay. Any reason why?
Because he's sick in real life. He's amazing.
Fair enough.
And if I remember correctly, I hope I don't mess this up, but I'm pretty sure his special trick was a dark slide.
Ooh.
And it just doesn't get much sicker than like, what's the audio noise? Ding, ding, and then you're like, dark slide.
Yeah, what a good one.
Or the special character Spider-Man, who had like the special trick, you're like shooting the web.
Sure.
But that doesn't really count. You have to pick an actual skater. Who is your go-to?
So I like knew nothing about skateboarding at the time. Like the game was my introduction to Tony Hawk in general. I was so young. But I always picked Steve Caballero, and only because my favorite trick, and to this day, like my dream trick, is a 360 flip. And I found his to be the easiest, I think it was
combination of
square, and then you just kind of mashed up into the left. And I think like the other characters, it was a different thing that I found harder to get my hands to. So I picked Steve because I liked how easy it was to tray flip, and I was just doing that nonstop. That's all I did. to revert to manual to whatever.
Yeah.
But
5 million tricks later,
right.
12 billion points later, you collected all the tapes and you got the letters in Skate.
Yeah.
Steve Cab is a good character.
Yeah, I knew nothing about anyone, and it's been cool to play some of these people and grow up, like getting to know their parts and see what they're all about. It's pretty unique, and the new characters they added to the game on the remake has been pretty fun to play too. God, when the remake came out, that was my life for like too long. Too long.
Oh yeah. See, I haven't played the remake.
It's good.
I haven't played it.
Yeah.
I need to play it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Are you a gamer at all? Like, just is that something you do? You play a lot of video games or no?
That is a good question. I have not played a lot of video games for many years. And then what happened was, okay, so this is kind of how, if we have any older people listening to this, especially maybe some older, a little bit nerdy kind of gamers, if you remember this game, it was called Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, yeah.
When that came out on PlayStation, I was probably 14 or 15 or something like that. That was many, many years ago. And I just loved that game so much. And then when COVID hit and the lockdown happened and the Final Fantasy VII remake came out, I had a moment there where one day I was just like, I'm at home and I'm stuck at home and I can't leave and I can't do anything and I just got in my car and I drove to Target and I bought a PlayStation 4 and I bought the Final Fantasy VII remake, and then I went home and then I was just like, this is the greatest thing that has ever existed ever.
So you went out and you bought the full console to play that game?
100%.
Oh my God.
I didn't have anything. And then I got that game. I had to. It was just like, I even have a skateboard. You can't see it in the...
Yeah, I know it though.
It's on the wall behind me. I have the skateboard, and I was the character for Halloween one year with the giant sword, the Buster sword, Cloud Strife. And so I played that game and I just loved it so much. And then, man, recently I just kept getting all these things on my Instagram of Elden Ring. And then, have you played Elden Ring?
I haven't, no, but it's the kind of game I would get lost in for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And then I brought it up in a video as a joke. And then, we got to rewind a little bit actually to this. Okay, so then I stopped playing video. I kind of go in and out of video games is the real answer. I get so insanely busy, and really, the truth is, I'm too busy to play video games. I shouldn't.
For sure.
But sometimes things are stressful and it's really rough, and sometimes I need to turn on a video game and turn off everything that I have to get done every single day because there's 9 billion things to do all the time. Running the YouTube channel, answering every single comment that ever comes in, posting 2 times a day on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Shorts channel. It's just like, and every now and then you just need to pick up a sword in a video game and slay a monster. So, okay. So then randomly I made this joke about Skyrim, and then Uzi told me, dude, I would literally rather live in Skyrim than live in this world. And then that hit me so hard. And then I went home and downloaded Skyrim and I started playing it, and I was like, oh my God, he's right.
Yeah.
Stupid Skyrim. And then I just was like trying to go into every dungeon and kill every gargoyle. And then I got to this point where, and then Skyrim, I got to this point where I had the dragon armor, the 2 dragon blades that are like fully amped. And I literally can walk into so before I was like, I see a dragon. Anytime I see a dragon, I'm just dead.
Yeah, out of there. You got to get out of there.
Yeah. But now I have like level 5 billion armor and weapons. Now I see a dragon and I'm just like come at me, bro.
Right.
And then he's like, boom, boom, boom. And I'm like taking no damage. And then I'm like, blah, blah. And he's dead. And I'm like, it's now like just too easy.
Yeah.
Like the game is broken because like now there's no other than like follow the storyline or like do this quest or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So then I don't play for a very long time. This is like years in between these various situations. And then I hear about this game, Elden Ring. It keeps coming up in my feed. And then I made a joke about it. And during a video, and then Uzi said, I downloaded that game and it was so hard that I actually called them back and told them I didn't mean to download it and got a refund. And then Nigel said, Aaron, do not play Elden Ring. It is the hardest, worst game ever. And then I was like, you guys are fully selling me on this game.
Right.
And then I downloaded it and I just went into Elden Ring mode. And then Gabe, and then we would make more jokes in the video. And now me, Gabe, and Uzi and Nigel are all playing Elden Ring. And we're all like comparing, whoa, what boss are you at? Blah, blah, blah. Gabe literally just beat the game like yesterday and beat the hardest boss. If anybody's following the game, it's this lady named Melania, and I can't beat her. She's tough, and she keeps killing me. But the game is actually like, you can like level up your weapons and the whole like level up system, and you can get so good, but you still just die constantly.
Yeah.
I think it's actually the best game I've ever played. I'm going to just throw that out there as... I think it is. And I told Gabe. Gabe's like, he loves video games. He's a gamer, like more than me. And he plays Breath of the Wild. And then he was like, I think that's ruined games for me. Because Breath of the Wild will not be this hard. And it's actually so hard that when you kill a big boss, you're like, that was a life goal accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah.
Almost embarrassing to say, but it's just so good. I don't know what else to say about it. It's a goal.
I'm thrilled. I thought you were going to say, like, I don't have time for that. I take my life seriously, Tom. Like, you think I'm going to sit down and play a game? I love that. I love hearing that. Yeah. I go through those waves, too. I'm currently in the new Tomb Raider trilogy, and really anxiously waiting Tears of the Kingdom, the new Zelda game.
Oh.
I know the listeners can't see, but behind me is like a whole shrine to Zelda. I've got the Master Sword, the shield, an Ocarina of Time that I can actually play.
Oh yeah.
I love Zelda.
Ocarina of Time. I love that too. And then I got that other one that was for the Wii, Skyward Sword or something like that.
Not great.
That was really good.
I
mean, I was like, okay, from not playing video games for a long time and then jumping into that.
Sure,
I think my wife and I got a Wii because we were like, we're going to work out on the Wii.
Sure.
And then it ended up being me playing Zelda Skyward Sword. I didn't beat the game, but I definitely remember it being like, this is cool.
Yeah. I like the mechanics of the Wii games for sure. It was novel to like wave your hands around and stuff.
Oh yeah. That's what I completely forgot about that. You're like, right. sword, boom.
Yeah. You had to like actually do the stabbing motion. I was a bigger fan of Twilight Princess on Wii. I made it through Skyward Sword. I mean, it was a good game. I feel like.
Did you play Breath of the Wild?
Oh my gosh. I took time off of work when that came out, and I'm not even joking. I put 200 hours in the first 3 months into that game, and I haven't played. It's been a while. I haven't been playing too many games lately, but it was a sickness. Like I would be hanging out with friends and I'd be like, oh my gosh, this field reminds me of Breath of the Wild. And like, Breath of the Wild is based on reality. It's not the other way around. You know? It affected.
Yeah, Gabe has
everything.
200 hours into Breath of the Wild too.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, you know, Ocarina of Time will always be, I think, my favorite Zelda game because it's just like, it's the classic dungeon field, you know, etc.
Yes.
So the open world nature of Breath of the Wild felt like part of it was like not quite a Zelda game,
Yeah.
but it was still the best game I've played in a super long time. Couldn't get me off of it. It was like I was taking my Switch on walks with the dog, and my wife was not super thrilled about that. But
Yeah.
it's a good one. I love Zelda.
Yeah, well, Gabe says, I'm just throwing this out there, but he says Elden Ring sort of battle mechanics or how the game works with like sword and you have a shield, may or may not have a shield, and dodging to the left, right is very similar to Breath of the Wild. But Elden Ring is like, it's like Breath of the Wild on meth.
Sure.
It's like,
what could go wrong?
Yeah, what could go wrong? But you do have like dungeons and castles are just like, you actually can't play them. Like there's no way to just, I'm going to play the game and I'm going to make it to the boss. You'll literally, I swear, never find the boss. You have to watch a tutorial video to find the boss, because it'll be like, jump off this ledge, land on a tree that you shouldn't be able to walk on, walk up the tree, jump onto another ledge, and then 12 days later, you hit the room, which you would have never known was there.
Yeah, you just got to glitch run the game.
Yeah, it's like, and the people that do find them and make these YouTube videos, I don't know. They got a lot.
Good for them, yeah.
They're geniuses. Yeah, good for them. Somebody figured it out. They're like thousands of hours into the game or something.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Elden Ring, super fun. What's up, everyone? Let me take a quick break here to tell you about Braille Army Plus, the membership platform designed by me to teach you how to ride a skateboard. Have you ever been wondering, man, if I just knew the correct technique to do this kickflip, I could get it? Or maybe you thought to yourself, if I just had Aaron Kyro to teach me how to ollie, I know I could land this. Well, I designed the Braille Army Plus membership for that thing specifically. You sign up on brailleskateboarding.com/army, and you can get started messaging me on the members-only Discord right away. You can send me a clip and ask me, hey, Aaron, what am I doing wrong with this? And I will tell you the exact technique, the exact practice step. I'll even tell you exactly what you should be doing each and every day to improve in your skateboarding over a long period of time. If you're practicing the correct tricks in the correct way, I 100% guarantee that you will be progressing on your skateboard. So join the best group on the entire internet and join Braille Army Plus. brailleskateboarding.com/army. I'll see you in there shredding. Thanks for checking it out, and now back to the interview.
All right, speaking of games, if you can play a game of skate with any skateboarder, dead or alive, who are you challenging and why?
Oh, man. Challenging is a good one. I'll tell you the first person that came to mind, and I'll tell you a little story along with it. The first person that came to mind was PJ Ladd, because he's my ultimate all-time favorite. Just favorite skateboarder, period. I love his video part, PJ Ladd's Wonderful Horrible Life. When that came out, I think it literally changed my whole life, and it literally changed skateboarding as we know it today. You know, there's a lot of, we could go into the Rodney Mullins, etc., but his was like my era. The things that he did in that video part were so crazy. Nobody had ever done them, and then he was doing them in a line, which was unheard of.
Right.
And I was at the trade show. It's the ASR trade show. It was in San Diego when the S did the very, very first game of skate. And this was a competition game of skate, and the winner got $10,000. And PJ Ladd is a ghost. He doesn't do appearances. He doesn't, he's not like I'm all over the place talking to everybody. He's definitely never going to do YouTube. He's like the exact opposite skater of me. I'm just like, I'll talk to everybody, do blah, 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 blah. But I love that about him.
Yeah.
And I was there and I heard this rumor that PJ Ladd was there. And I was like, game over. Like, don't even think about it. Nobody's taking PJ Ladd. And he had his hood on. Classic PJ. This is like very close to like after PJ Ladd's Wonderful Horrible Life. Exactly what he looked like in the video. He had the S shoes. He had his hood on. He had his head down. He would literally like, there's a huge crowd of people and it would be his turn to go. And it would almost be like he appeared out of the mist. And then he would step on his board and then he would do this like very like nonchalant push. And then with no effort, do the most hardest trick ever and land it bolts. And I just went, it was actually unbelievable. And he fully won. He just destroyed everybody. It wasn't even, he just killed him. So I know he is so proficient on a skateboard. It wouldn't be a fun game because he would just murder me. But if I could play 2002, I believe was the year, 2002 PJ Ladd, and just sit in awe at the mastery that this man has over a skateboard. That's my answer.
Okay.
But it's not one that I will win.
For sure. Hey, man, no shame in losing to your idols.
No shame.
But what trick are you going to start with?
I'm going to start with a kickflip because that's what we start with.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to try and get him, you know what? I feel like I could get him on a tray double flip, which I have really well. That's kind of my like, oh, we're playing a game of skate. Let me do this trick. I'm pretty sure I'll get you a letter.
Yeah.
But then again, he can do everything. So he could probably just do a tray double flip. You know, especially then. He was God mode.
Yeah. Do you remember the first time you landed a tray double flip?
Ooh. That's a good question. I'm just going through all the tray double flips that I landed. I think so.
So many of them.
I think it was in my old house where my wife and I were renting a room, and it was in the backyard, and I was just throwing it. And I'll tell like a special, the secret of tray double flip.
Yeah, let's hear it.
A 360 kickflip is obviously the board is doing a 360 and a kickflip. So now you tray double, you're doing 360 and 2 kickflips. So a big secret of skateboarding is actually how you think about the trick. There's obviously like the muscle memory is like a big deal and you have to practice that, and that's like the motions. But the way you do a 360 double flip is you think of it like 2 varial flips. And if anybody's listening who doesn't know what a varial flip is, that is a pop shove it, which is a 180 and a kick flip. And I forget who said this, but they said it's a varial flip on the way up and a varial flip on the way down.
Yeah.
And I went, that's so easy. You just do 2 varial flips in one trick.
So easy.
So you pop it. So basically like on a tray, I can't really, I'm just trying to show with my hands.
Right.
You can see the video version of wherever. So on the back foot, you're just scooping like a tray flip, same. And on the front foot, like if I do a regular tray flip, I have my front foot about towards those top bolts. And it's easy tray flip position. Now tray double flip, I'll bring it back about 3 inches, almost middle board. And that moving the foot back gives me just a little bit more leverage. So when I do the pop, I can flick it a little bit harder. And that's varial flip on the way up, varial flip on the way down. And it's one of those tricks. The reason I like these tricks, some people like Glow. Maybe he wouldn't ever admit this on camera. I think maybe he did in a video the other day. Glow hates double flips. And it's kind of like how do I put this? Like if you're like a really core skater, like super cool core skater dude, double flips are not cool.
That's what I've heard, which is wild to me. It's a cool thing. Why not?
Yeah. Exactly. Why not? You can do 1 flip. Let's see you do 2. And part of me wants to think, and maybe this is totally not true, and maybe it's just my own what I want to think, because I like double flips. And when we're in a game of skate and Glow, who doesn't like double flips, and I want to beat him, I'm doing double flip, fakey double flip, nollie double flip, switch double flip, fakey double tray flip, regular tray double flip, and then he's out. And that's kind of like, because he's too... And I also love that he doesn't like them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I kind of think that like, okay, of course you don't. He loves nollie heel flips, and I can't nollie heel flip to save my life. It's just like the differences of skateboarding. But I just think it's one of those interesting little nuances of like, oh, he did a double flip in his part. That's not cool. Like, come on.
That's crazy, man. The subcultures of subcultures will always be endlessly fascinating to me. It's crazy. Like growing up in the music scene, it was like, you had your like hardcore scene, but then it was all fractured, and these hardcore kids didn't like those hardcore kids because their breakdowns were more chugga chugga rather than or just like stupid stuff, just getting so granular just to hate each other for nothing. Double flips are dope. Every now and then I almost land one on accident, but
and at the end of the day, it's like we're all just we're grown men who are playing with a toy. Like, let's just call it what it is. And you think your tricks on the toy are cooler than my tricks? Whatever. I mean, everybody has their opinions and their likes and dislikes. And I also love that they do. Like, I really want to throw that out there. I love that I love that Glow shows up in his like Supreme pants, his Supreme hoodie, and he's just like the coolest, hippest dude. And then he's doing like nollie heel. It was in a video, and I was like, Glow, do a nollie double heel. And then in that video, he freaked out and told me that he hates double flips. And I went, it makes so much sense.
That's incredible.
But yeah, it's also very intense in music. I remember growing up, when I grew up, I was obsessed with AFI.
Oh, yeah.
No FX. AFI would come and do shows in Billings, Montana. I'm from this really, really small town, Red Lodge, Montana. And we would drive an hour to go to Billings to see AFI perform at the local shop, where we would just run in circles and punch each other in the face. And when you're 14, that's the most fun thing to do in the whole world.
Absolutely.
And then you're just like jamming the music. And I remember thinking like, I don't understand why everybody doesn't love this music. Like, why doesn't my mom rock this? And then hearing other people's music and being like, this is so bad. And now I think I'm that old guy who's like, I like all that.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah. I remember when I was like in 8th grade, there was this 9th grader who like knew how to play guitar. And I was just like, how much cooler does it get? And I remember being like, what kind of music do you like? And we were like walking down this busy road to school, and he like took a second and he just looks up and he goes, if it's good, it's good. And I was like, what? Like, you could just like whatever you want? Cause I was like, I loved Blink. And I remember like someone said Good Charlotte were posers. And I was like, oh my God, do I need to stop listening to Good Charlotte? I love them. And just like that was the first time I ever heard posers. I didn't really know what it was, but I knew by the way he said it was bad. Like, it was real bad to be a poser. But yeah, it's just so much wisdom from that 9th grader. If it's good, it's good.
Yeah. And I can't imagine, like, back then, like I said, we didn't have YouTube. We didn't have I can only imagine what kids go through right now.
Yeah.
Like, probably the emotional anxiety that goes along with like, oh, I made this comment on Instagram, and 5 of my classmates said, cyberbullying, and I can imagine it's probably wild.
I'm nervous. I've got 2 kids. One's only 2 and one is 2 months. So like we've got some time, but I'm like, man, everything they do is just going to be under a microscope. It's oof. That's a conversation for probably a different podcast, but yeah, poor kids, man. Poor kids.
That's like 3 hours into the podcast when it goes deep, then we hit that subject.
Right. But, I think that kind of segues into the next question. I remember, I was 29. It was pandemic. I bought a skateboard. I remember I could like kind of ollie almost when I was 10, like, let's pick it up. Let's see what we can do. And as the restrictions kind of loosened up, I was living in Denver, Colorado at the time, which has just amazing skate parks.
Right.
The Arvada skate park is where I learned like to ollie or to skate. And, man, I was so lucky to like, I think it's like the 3rd biggest skate park in the country or something. It's so beautiful, so big. But I remember rolling up to the park and being like, I'm nervous. I don't know what these people are gonna be like. Am I gonna be the weird old dude? Like, I know that I'm a super sweaty guy. Is everyone gonna be grossed out by my sweat? And just thinking everyone's gonna be like laser focused on everything I do.
Mm,
And I'm sure that's not a unique story, especially
right.
as people are getting older. It was kind of a pandemic interest for a lot of people. Like, what would you say to someone who's like listening right now who enjoys Braille, likes the videos, but is like, I don't know if I could be the person at the park. Like, how do they start? Like, if they even have a skate park in town, but like if they just want to get going, a little nervous, where would they start?
That's a good question. I think it's different for different people, and I think there's so many layers to this question that there's probably a lot to cover, because I think there's like many things to understand. Where should I start with my answer? So I think I'm going to start I think I'm going to start with my answer by saying you're not incorrect in the feelings of like, maybe I'm feeling kind of weird about this situation.
Yeah.
Because let's just start and let's just throw it out there that like the skateboarding community can be a bit toxic. It can be a little bit like, we're really cool kids on the club and we can do kick flips and tray flips and skate the stairs. So we're better than you. And I'm trying to take that viewpoint and strip it away. Because when a brand new person goes into a skate shop and they don't know all the lingo or all the words, a skate shop or a skate park or whatever, they feel like an instant outcast.
Yeah.
Like an instant outsider. And somebody who's picking up baseball or football, I mean, maybe there's like some hazing or whatever, but I don't feel like it's quite the same situation.
Right.
But so let's just start with saying that that can exist and it can be there. But now I'm going to tell you that every person that goes to that skate park is somewhat in that same feeling as you. And even the guys that are really good, they're also a little bit in that same feeling as you. So don't feel like okay, first of all, you can't be like, everybody's eyes are on me.
Right.
Because they're not.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
No one cares.
Right? Nobody cares. They actually don't care. And a majority of the time, everybody's eyes are on themselves.
Yeah.
And so you also have to understand that too. And every one of those people, no matter what, like, I'm not going to like make excuses for their behavior or say like that's okay or whatever, because in my viewpoint, it's completely not okay. Mm-hmm. And we need to really open the like welcoming viewpoint of new skaters into skateboarding. I think it's a big problem within skateboarding, period. There's tons of gatekeeping and all kinds of stuff that occurs, even to me and, my team and whatever, various things that happen. But I think it's really, really changing a lot. And I think that people are starting to notice that. And I think they're really starting to welcome new skaters. And I think that, I would like to say that I've been pushing on this quite a bit and that has impacted things, whether I did it or not. It doesn't really matter. Just the fact of the matter of, I hope it's improving and I think it is. Mm-hmm. You see? So those are kind of the different layers of it. So I would say that you should start by going out to a very empty parking lot, get riding down, get to a point where you're feeling pretty comfortable, and then go to the skate park and just do it. And you probably think that you're going to go to the skate park, get made fun of, and all these bad things are going to happen. People are going to throw gum at you or whatever. And then you'll actually be very, very pleasantly surprised that none of that happens. Yeah. They will actually be supportive. And the skaters, like, I've been skating for 30 years. I do remember what it was like to be a beginner. And I remember what it was like when that kid tried to break my arm because he was an older, cool kid who could do a kick flip and a heel flip, if I, remember correctly. He could even ollie the 5-stair at the church. I was like, this guy's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, that was, this is years I had already. Yeah, I was also I progressed after that 6 months taking to learn how to ollie. Like by 12 years old, I was like, my best trick at 12 was varial flip down a 7 stair. So I progressed very slowly and then really fast.
Yeah.
Looking back on it. But you have to understand that every single person there, no matter how good they are, went through the same thing. And partly why it occurs is because they went through the same thing and they're like, oh, now I'm in this role and they're in that role. So now I need to be toxic to them. So know that it's there, but it's actually way, 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 way less prevalent than you think. And we just got to come together and we got to not have that happen because that hurts skateboarding's growth. What's up, everybody? Let me take just a minute to ask you, have you ever wanted to start a podcast, but you don't know how to get started when it comes to recording, editing, and mixing your audio? Well, Tom Kelly, the producer of this very podcast, has an amazing course that will walk you through everything you need to know to make a great sounding podcast. Literally every step we take to make a Braille Drop podcast is included in this course, from buying equipment on any budget, setting up a room in your house for recording, how to interview a guest who lives across the country, and how to edit and mix the recordings into a killer sounding podcast. The best part, the course costs less than $20 and goes as low as $10 when it's on sale. Go to thebrailledrop.com/audio to watch the trailer and check out all that the course has to offer. Doing so really helps the podcast out. That's thebrailledrop.com/audio. All right, back to the episode.
We talked a bit about like kids growing up with social media, how it changes things, but I hope that, there have to be some positives too. And I do think that over time, it seems like, younger and younger kids are learning empathy sooner and sooner as you get to experience something other than the way you were brought up.
Yeah.
Hopefully that'll be something that just continues, that good trend over time of I don't have to act how, the kids in my neighborhood treated me. There's a whole world out there. There's a whole array of emotions and feelings that maybe I didn't experience as a child, but other people have, and I can learn from it secondhand on social media and treat people better, treat people differently. It does seem like that's happening. I mean, I definitely hear, I go to the playground with my kids and there's some like 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds talking about like deep stuff I never would have had a conversation with my friends about. Like they're definitely getting smarter. So,
really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fascinating. It's interesting also like the viewpoint of society towards skateboarding. I'll tell this story like when in my hometown in Red Lodge, Montana, there was no skate park, and if you went to school, you were part of football or basketball. Those were your options.
Americana.
And then I was like, I'm going to ride a skateboard, and I'm kind of into this. In 8th grade, I was in basketball, and I was really good, and I was in band, and I was really good at the drums.
Oh, nice.
And I remember my basketball coach, who's also my math teacher, shout out Mr. D.
Mr.
And
D.
he told me, if you stay in basketball, we'll have a like state championship team by the time you're in your senior year. Some of my friends were also pretty good too, right? And then we were all just like, no, we're going to skateboard.
Yeah.
And then my band teacher kind of said the same thing. He literally said, if you continue to skateboard, you will be a loser and you'll make nothing of your life. And that hit me. Yeah. And I also like just the way I am. I love when people tell me, maybe I don't love it, but there's a certain thing of like, Aaron, you can't do blah.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
If it takes me 1,000 hours and I have to smash my face through walls, I'm going to do it. And there's so many doubters and haters. And I love that energy. I feed off of that a little bit.
Yeah.
And so in that town, the viewpoint of skateboarding was that they were all hoodlums, gangsters, drug addicts. They just did very, very bad things for the community. Mm. And then I got a skate park built.
Right.
And then and so the local community people started to go there and they started to observe what's happening. And then they would write into the local paper. This is very small town stuff, right? And this is after I moved. I got a skate park built my senior year, and then I left to college. So I skated that park for maybe maybe like 5 or 6 months.
Wow.
And then I left, and then I kind of just left it in this community. And then people started writing to the paper, and it was amazing what they wrote. They said, I went down to the skate park, and it was not what I expected. I saw people doing tricks and helping each other. And the camaraderie, even though it's an individual sport, not a team sport,
right,
was better there than it was on the football field. And it was like so positive. And I was just like, boom.
Yeah.
We told you so. You know, we're a good people. We do good things. Of course, there are bad people in any group, whatever.
Yeah, anywhere, yeah.
But it's a fascinating change of viewpoint that occurred there. And I think that we can use that in more communities.
Man, that's really awesome. Because I feel like that was always kind of what I heard. I wanted a skateboard for my 10th birthday. And I still remember it was like King Tut and there was like gold like foil on it. And my stepdad eventually ran it over with a car and I cried so hard, dude. Because I know we couldn't afford a second skateboard, but probably a Walmart special. But my mom being like, yeah, but you don't want to like hang out with the skateboarding kids, do you? And like,
they're bad kids.
Honestly, in my town, like some of them were kind of hoodlums or whatever, but like
completely tried to break my arm.
But man, you've got bad people anywhere. And I moved to a new town, you know, a couple years ago and just like immediately was like skate park. This is where I'm making all my friends. And I show up before the sun rises with all the other older dudes. And like, we go get brunch and we like hit the bowls afterwards and talk about our kids. And it's like very different from like, I mean, of course it's 20 years has passed since then, but like, it's very different from how like my mom portrayed what she thought a skateboarder was. And maybe that was true 20 years ago, but man, it's just, there's some wholesome people at that park just trying to have fun with some friends. You know what I mean? It's a good community. You can find a good community at any skate park.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And now you have this whole generation of like, we skated 10, 20 years ago. And now I have kids. Now my kids are starting to want to skate. And now I'm going to skate with them. So I'm kind of starting again.
Yeah.
And I think it's so cool. And we need things like that. It needs positivity.
Yeah.
You know, it can't be like, bro, double flips are lame. Your board sucks.
Right.
You need this kind of board and your hair needs to, you know, it's like, come on, just be welcoming.
Yeah, we can leave the gatekeeping at home for sure.
That's why we need the podcast.
The positivity in skateboarding is, and not like I'm deeply embedded in the culture. I don't want to come off like I'm like some skateboarding elder. I'm super new to it, but like I was so afraid of the judgment of people being like, "What's this old dude doing here? Because can his knees even take it? You know, whatever." And you know, I remember
he's
like
not even old.
I know. But I mean, you see people like Jin Woo at the skate. You know, I mean, these people are getting so good, so young. Like,
yes,
to me, it's like 30 does seem ancient when I'm at the skate park past noon. You know what I mean? But
past noon.
Oh, you know what? Before I've got to tell this story. I've never told anyone because I've never had anyone to really tell. I was in Denver and I would show up before the sun rose because I'm a sweaty dude. I like to try to beat the heat and I wanted the whole park to myself, which is what you got at 6 a.m. And I remember I was there later one day and I overheard some kid saying to his friend, only posers show up at the skate park before noon. It's like, now we're
and
time
listen
restricted.
To Good Charlotte.
Anything but Good Charlotte.
Yeah, you got a lot of strikes.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, you'll get that kind of stuff anywhere. But what I actually experienced from people that I interacted with was nothing but kindness. People giving me tips on the pop shove, or like, you know, some dude power slid, and I was like, hey, can you like tell me how to do that? And like he broke away from his friends and was like, yeah, dude, here, like, I've seen nothing but like overwhelming positivity from complete strangers that have like then turned into friends.
Right, exactly. And that is what it's like. I just want I don't know if my earlier answer maybe like threw too many like thorns in the bush, but it is really positive, and it is getting even more positive than it was in the past. So like, don't be afraid. Just go. It'll be good. It'll be way less than you think.
Yeah. And everyone's just paying attention to themselves for sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
Even the guy he's trying to land his trick.
Yeah.
When I go to the skate park, even more so now, because it's like everybody knows me, which can be a very unfortunate situation.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
People always think, well, isn't that so great? Well,
not when you're just trying to vibe. You know?
Maybe sometimes you're just trying to go and do a couple tricks, and you don't want some kid being like, I thought he was pro. He can't even heel flip the stairs. What's wrong with him? So I almost feel like more I'm more like in my head now about it than I was back then. But also back, when I was a kid, it was just like, whatever, go and have fun. And now I'm, I am making a joke, but I am so like over, like I actually don't care. Yes, I have my name on a skateboard. Yes, you could say I'm a pro, but I don't, I made this video the other day and I was like, I just can't land any of these tricks. I'm having a terrible day.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of the comments were like, Aaron sucks. Why is he even pro? And I'm answering every comment, And then my wife says, she sees me answering this comment about how bad I suck. And she's like, why don't you just not answer that? And I'm like, I know I want to answer that. But it's a very specific, it's like every pro, and I've met many, they have days. I just happen to show all my days.
Right. Absolutely.
Most people, they would just be very careful to make sure that attempt never saw the light of day.
Yeah.
And you see the land that took them 3 to 4 weeks and the video part that took them 5 years.
Yeah.
And they want, because I make a daily video, they want me to make that video part that took them 5 years. They want that every day.
Yeah. That's just not going to
literally
happen.
What's expected. No, and it's not going to happen. But I think it's cool. And okay, I know we're trying to wrap it, but I have one more thing.
Give it to me.
And I knew this was going to happen. We just talk forever. Because that earlier thing that you said of like the social media, I do think it is more positive than negative. Mm-hmm. And I do think that it has opened the communication channels. And I think that's the best way to think about it. Of just like back in the day, I had a phone that I had to dial my friend's number, and I actually had to know the number.
Right.
Had to have it memorized. So I would dial my friend and I would call him up. So now, as a kid, you can Instagram them. Of course, you can get into more trouble with this kind of stuff too, but there's more ways to communicate to your friends, and there's more information readily available. Yeah. So you can. I would have died and gone to heaven if I could have walked outside on my cell phone and looked up a tutorial on YouTube on how to do a kickflip.
Yeah.
That was, that's like a spaceship to Mars type situation of how far. So I think it's overwhelmingly positive. And I think the way to think about it is just communication is positive. Mm-hmm. When you go to the skate park, and even the guy who's like maybe being whatever, and you start talking to him, actually, if you talk to him a lot, you'll realize he's a cool guy.
Yeah.
He just whatever. Maybe he was so introverted that it made him seem like a jerk, or maybe he was mad because he didn't land his trick and he threw his board or whatever. And then you're like, whoa, he's intimidating. But you actually get to talk to him, and he's a cool guy. And I think that's why we need to do the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, the intimate stories, really getting to know people is what I'm really hoping to get out of it. Get a deeper look into people that maybe you've been watching skate or do whatever they do for years, and kind of break them down. We're all humans at the end of the day, bring them down to the human level. And honestly, I think that kind of stuff is inspiring. I listened to, as I was growing my business, a lot of business podcasts. And the one that I really resonated with was, I sent you the dude's book, Andrew Warner. He hosts the Mixergy podcast. He brings these like multi-billion-dollar CEOs down to the gutter to talk about like when things were the worst. It's not just like, tell me about how awesome you are. It's like, tell me how human you are. And that kind of stuff like is so motivating, because it's like, I think it's easy to see the people at the top of their game and just be like, they've always been there. And they started day one the same as you. And I think the long form, intimate nature of podcasting will help bring some of those people to that level. That's what I'm hoping for. I think, that's what you're looking for with this as well. And I'm super excited to like finally be bringing that. I did want to ask just a couple last things to wrap it up. Anything that the listeners can expect with the show, maybe some guests or topics you want to cover, or if they want to suggest a topic or a guest, is there a way they can get in touch to do that?
Good question. We actually don't even know totally how that will occur. We haven't quite mapped it out, but we do. Yeah, it was funny because earlier I was saying like, I wanted to say leave a comment,
right.
And then I was thinking to myself,
no comments.
There's no comments section on the podcast, which is why we're doing a podcast. No,
right.
I literally don't even know where this will go. Maybe this will go onto YouTube and there is a comment section, whatever. But for sure on the like purely audio side, we will have some sort of a tab. It will be in the community tab at brailleskateboarding.com, and under that it will say podcast. And probably in there we will have maybe a Google form where you guys can request guests, questions you want covered, topics you want covered, etc. I almost just threw out an email, but I don't know if we want to just throw the email into oblivion. Probably the best way is to do the Google form at brailleskateboarding.com. Under the community tab, it will say podcast, and we'll figure out a way to put that in there. And you guys can request guests. Mm-hmm. And hopefully we can get some really... What I would like to see, and this, today it's February 28th.
Yeah.
And we might not see another episode of the podcast for a month or two. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I can get to a point where the video production is rolling. I do run a lot of social media platforms. Mm-hmm. And then we're adding this in. And I think this is a really, really good and cool thing to add in. I hope you guys enjoy it and like it. And what I want to, I always jump in more than I can handle. That's one thing to know about me. So I'm really being careful. Tom knows this because he's been trying to get me to do this for 2 years. And I keep telling him, I don't have time.
Next month.
Next month has been said.
And it's actually been 3 years.
It's been 3 years.
It has.
And now we're doing it. And there's never a good time to do something. No. You just jump in, and it's fun and it's cool. And what I want to say is that we would have a good whatever. We'll have an interview with some guest once every 2 weeks. And then on the in-between week, I will do something that's maybe, I got this idea. I saw this from Rob Deerdeck. He just was like, he just thinks of a topic and he just goes 30 minutes, blah, 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 maybe some kind of a shorter thing that he just talks on. And I can talk endlessly, overly winded. But I would like it to be mainly guests that I can get into their intricate life details, or maybe we have people interviewing me. We can go both ways. It's totally interesting. But I think there's a lot of things and questions that people have on the YouTube that they say, what happened with so-and-so and such situation? And we could spend 3 hours on a podcast diving into the intimate thoughts about that. And I've had a wild run in skateboarding. I can't talk about it as though it's over. It's very, very far from over. In fact, I feel like I'm just getting started. But it's been a very, very fascinating journey, and I have lots of stories, so we can dig into that. But I hope that you guys will get maybe a more insight into me, who I am, my thoughts. We can get into all things Braille. I really want to use this as a medium to inspire people and hopefully give people the viewpoint that they can do it too. Like you were saying with like the business owners and bringing them down to like, what was the worst part of your life? Which I completely love, because people think, oh, you have Braille skateboarding, you have 5.7 million subscribers and you're a success. And like, you have no idea how unbelievably hard it has and is to run a business through. We won't even mention COVID, just run a business, period. In fact, Elon Musk, who, in this great quote, I love these kind of quotes too. He said something along the lines of, and I'm not going to get this exact, but like, running a business and being an entrepreneur is similar to chewing on broken glass. And I heard that and I thought, he nailed that one dead on.
Yeah.
And it is so hard. And people just look at you like you're such a entitled person.
All you do is skate all day, bro. Like, it's literally
you just
so
skate
easy.
and have fun all day, and that's like totally chill and make tons of money, and it's just like blah blah blah. Whoa. It's it's unbelievably stressful, and of course it would be, but that's just like learning a new trick that's really, really hard, or beating the Elden Ring boss. That's so this is why we love it. Gabe and I were saying, like, it is the most I don't even want to say fulfilling. It's just like, you can almost count how proud of you are going to be of the trick you landed by the amount of failure. If you tried that trick 1,000 times and didn't get it, and then you land one perfectly, imagine how you're going to feel.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with like a business too. And you hear all these people joke overnight success. Yeah, right. My overnight success took me 20 years. That's just the way it is. And then people start these businesses. They start a t-shirt company and they make 8 shirts and they're done. I'm like, try 800 shirts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Braille Skateboarding has made 5,000 videos. You say what you want about it, but until you make 5,000 videos, let's talk. Let's talk then. Have a different experience. But so I think at podcasts we can get into what I want to get into is I want to learn more about the ups and downs of skateboarding.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would love to interview Stacy Peralta, Tony Hawk, some of these guys. Just, I know I can get Paul Schmidt on a podcast, and Paul Schmidt makes makes skateboards, and he has been making skateboards since like 1970.
Oh.
And because he makes skateboards, and he makes skateboards for many, many big companies, and he works with some of the industry's top pros, etc. Like, he made Nyjah Houston skateboards. Every skateboard the kid rode since he was yay tall to a grown man. And he literally has a mathematical formula where the space in between the trucks grew as he grew.
Huh.
And it's like, wow, but he knows a lot about the industry background, and what I'm interested is skateboarding as an industry.
Yes.
Which does the economics of it. Like in 1980, Tony Hawk was making so much money buying houses, and then he was literally like, couldn't pay his mortgage because everything went under.
Yeah.
I want to know why it went under, what happened. And there's some very interesting stories in there. So I want to actually learn what happened from them so we can prevent skateboarding from dying in the future.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a big task, but I think you're well equipped.
We're trying. 5,000 videos in.
Right. Well, awesome, man. I mean, that's a lot of stuff to look forward to. Glad we finally got to do this.
Yeah.
We got
Gotta
a
be
lot
careful asking me a question. It'll be an hour long. I told you. Cut me off, Tom. Cut me off.
Exactly what I was hoping for. I didn't expect the Elden Ring twist, but I'm here for it. So stoked about that. Well, awesome, man. We'll put, some links in the show notes, and hopefully by the time this goes out, we'll have some way to, submit requests. But always more information in the show notes, and looking forward to see where this goes. Again, I'll mostly be in the background handling things, but it was awesome to get the opportunity to ask you some questions I've had for years. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tom, for persevering. Tom has been on a persistence episode of Braille Army for 3 years to get these questions answered, and we finally made it. So yeah, we would love your guys' feedback and questions that you have, and all the things that you ever wanted to know about that we can just sit down and dig right in there.
Awesome.
Hope you guys enjoyed the episode today. If you did, or maybe even if you didn't, we would appreciate it if you would rate and review and share this with a friend. We'll have more episodes coming up before you know it.